Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons, and we're at the GEOINT 2024 Symposium in Orlando, Florida. And for this segment, we have the pleasure of talking to Vinay of Figure Eight Federal. It's okay. We love a couple bloopers here and there. How about we start by learning a little bit more about you first before we dive into Figure Eight?
Sure. So my background is I'm a passionate computer scientist and engineer from Silicon Valley, I guess you could say. Spent my time working on AI and ML projects for the past 20 plus years. And I always found a problem with the data aspect of AI ML. The algorithms are there, the data is always the hard part. And I found myself looking for data to solve problems, whether it's in the biotech field, whether it's in the energy field, and now in the geospatial field.
Well, how did you transition from everything from Silicon Valley, starting at AI/ML, into defense and intelligence or geospatial in this realm? Was it a natural transition, or did you find yourself throwing yourself into the fire per se?
I had some family did some work in the defense and intel work before, and it's always attracted to me. But in the end, I kind of just fell into it. To be completely honest with you, I was doing a lot of robotics before this, and prior to that, like I said, energy industry, and kept moving more and more into the regulated markets, and then found myself trying to create data for defense and intel, and that's how I found myself at Figure Eight Federal.
Perfect. Well, let's start with Figure Eight, and tell us a little bit more about the company as an overview, and we'll dive right into the specifics.
Sounds good. So Figure Eight is a data labeling company and a software and a service. So we provide our own tooling as well as the services to actually label data. We have, through our parent, which we merged, over 1 million people doing this data labeling at any given point in time. And it's kind of crazy to think about how much data we have to process as people, as AI and ML gets better and better, and the more data that we're producing as people just comes through. And Figure Eight has a history. Has been around since 2007 in actuality. And the company that bought us, Appin, has been around since 2001 approximately. They were both the leaders in their respective spaces, small and medium business for data labeling, and then large business for data labeling. The combination allowed us to build one product that could fit both markets pretty well. And I think that's kind of the unique factor for us is we span everything from the 5-person startup all the way to the Fortune 100. In fact, we service more than 80% of the Fortune 100 today on the data labeling needs for AI and ML.
Okay, let's talk about the data labeling. You mentioned you got close to 500,000 labelers in the background. So is this sort of like a Mechanical Turk-like process where you're farming out the labeling process to third parties, or how does that work?
So we do everything, including that and in between. So we have people who have PhDs that work for us that are doing data labeling, all the way down to somebody working in another country for data labeling that we may not have the connectivity to that you might find with somebody who's a W-2 employee. In this particular case, we guarantee the quality of work, and that's actually our uniqueness. Mechanical Turk, great product for what you need, but your data scientist has to sift through all the data to make sure they have the high quality data. We have built tools and a system to actually guarantee that quality of that data is what you need it to be for your AI and ML program. So before you have to sift through it, you're getting the actual answers that you need.
Well, I'd like to dive a little bit more into that, because now you got me fascinated in what you're doing for labeling there. So how do you ensure quality? That's a lot of labelers in the background who might have, dealing with this type of audience, some natural concerns of, do you farm out some national security concerns, for specific types of ships or objects that maybe we don't want to farm out to everybody? How do you deal with those types of questions?
In the defense and intel space, we don't farm it out. First of all, we keep it internal all the way.
Okay.
Externally for commercial, we absolutely might farm it out if the client wants us to.
So you have your own set of labelers as well that you have in-house to work on specific compartmentalized projects with this type of environment.
Yeah, one of our unique attributes is we're able to really understand who's working on the projects, whether they're our team or somebody else's. And what we've done is created that database of of people and the workflow management and the workforce management to actually understand their quality at a different type of scale than most other companies. Most companies have a few hundred people or maybe a few dozen people they can actually go into a room and watch them. It's not the case for us in general. They could be anywhere in the world, but with defense and intel, they're generally in the same vicinity. But we still use the same systems to figure out the quality control pieces. We pit people against each other, with each other, as well as against Golden Sat data to make sure that they're actually following the quality required quality aspects of the program that they're working on. And we also hire people right out of industry or out of government who are specialists. For example, I might have a SAR specialist who's worked 20 years at NGA and actually knows how to read that data that nobody else can. And we'll make sure we have those people on staff so that we can drive that quality all the way up.
That's great, especially as we can leverage that tradecraft and more commercialize it, you know, and perhaps even train it too. So again, how far down in the ML ops workflow do you go? We mentioned a lot of labeling here, but do you make the algorithms or do you just store the labels to give the other machine learning companies?
We tend to shy away from actually building the algorithms. We do build algorithms to speed up the labeling or to test the labeling, and we work with our clients to actually do that. I don't want to compete with my customer, to be frank with you. I want them to produce the best model for their actual needs. But if you're looking at us from an overall view, if there's a company that has the best video labeling technology, for example, or the best geospatial technology, we'll integrate that into our platform and have that trained as part of the labeling process. So you'll have machine learning helping humans at the same time and doing that work together to come up with the right answer. What's really cool about that human-machine teaming thing is we coined that term in 2007. So that's that human in the loop idea was actually Figure 8's idea in the original idea of data labeling.
Ooh, big claim there. We'll have to
go do it. Yeah.
see who challenges it, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of the, you know, you mentioned you don't want to compete with anybody else. That you're providing a service, which is really great. So these labels are accessible through an API as a finished service, and people can access them through there.
Yeah, it's an API. They can. We believe that you should own your own data, no matter what it is. We never own the final product. We want to make sure that that's open and accessible. So even if you don't use us in the future, all of that data is still accessible to you. It's storable anywhere you'd like to store it in an open format that anybody can read.
Okay, sensor agnostic. How sensor agnostic are you? Is there limitations to what types of imagery that you don't do right now, just because you don't have the expertise on hand? I like to ask that question in reverse, only because you know it's too easy to answer the other way.
It's much easier to answer the other way. We're actually very embedded in the way that these sensors work already, and we've built technology so that you don't have to re-engineer our platform to understand a new sensor type.
Okay.
So it's one of our core IP features. And it allows us to take on a new sensor type and its properties, whatever it happens to be, and actually label to it.
So we're talking about EO, SAR. How far down the hyperspectral route have you gone yet?
We're doing hyperspectral labeling today for a variety of different agencies.
Okay. Satellite, aerial,
all of
drone,
these. Yes.
Video. Okay.
Audio, text.
Oh wow. Okay.
All the way across. LiDAR, radar, sonar, all of those data, and fusion of all that data together as well. What's really interesting is if I can pinpoint a drone image as well, or a drone video, plus the geospatial data from SAR, plus maybe some audio, and pinpoint to a person or pinpoint to an actual item, you can actually generate a model that can understand across those pieces. That's what you're seeing now with generative AI. We have been doing that work for a long time to get to that point with these companies. We service over 80% of the companies that generate generative AI models use us as their data labeling platform.
That's great. Okay, well, in order to find out more information about who you are and what services you provide, where can people go?
Go to www.f8federal.com and please reach out anytime you'd like.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for giving us some insights, helping us learn a little bit more about the company and what you're up to. Is there any last-minute comments you have about what you're up to and what you're doing here at GEOINT?
Yeah, we've just entered the source data market, so we're now sourcing the data that you would actually use for geospatial work, not just labeling it. So we're excited to announce a new product called Hydra that will be out in the next few weeks.
Great. And before we do close out, one final question in terms of all this data labeling as a service and especially the roles that you fit in here. you know, it's good from a knowledge capture that you get people that are coming out of industry, coming out of government to be a part of the labeling process. But if folks were coming out of college or starting up out of high school, what advice would you give them if we want to get into the labeling business?
So I would say start doing it. We actually welcome people out of college or in college for already doing labeling for us. As they're learning the processes, they get to learn our tools and our processes that we have as well. And they're able to do the data labeling and understand how the software is built to actually produce this. It really helps you grow.
So from the software standpoint, that makes sense. Do you help them on board with the tradecraft too? How does that work?
We have a system for training on specific data types. We actually have the ability to plug in areas where there are weaknesses and show them how to get to the next stage of what they would like to learn. Maybe it's remote sensing or something a little less innocuous, maybe like text reading or maybe understanding processor specs or something like that. And they actually get to learn a little bit more about their craft. If they want to continue down the data labeling place, they can. If they don't, they now know more about that specific space that they're trying to learn about and grow there.
And what's the barrier to entry for somebody who's interested in that coming out of college or high school? Is it pretty low, or do you still would like them to have certain skills coming on?
We actually don't require skills because we have such a large workforce.
Yeah.
A lot of times we can find a fit for them and then train them to where they want to be as well, or have them learn what they'd like. When they do have skills, it makes it easier because we can point them towards the things that they're actually interested in. That's the easier way for us to figure out what they want to do in life, and that's really what the goal is.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, sir, for giving us all these great answers to helping us understand. This actually highlights a great change in workforce development too. So it's good to know there. Well, once again, I'm Adam Simmons here at Project Geospatial at the GEOINT Symposium 2024. We will talk to everybody next time.
Thank you.